My parents had lived quietly in this neighborhood for years. Then one morning, they started packing everything they owned. I knew something was wrong the moment I saw the moving truck. But Karen had no idea where they were really going. Karen arrived before my parents could even finish loading. She stormed across the driveway, demanding to know what was happening. She acted like the entire neighborhood belonged to her. Then she made the mistake of asking me where my parents were moving. Karen narrowed her eyes and demanded an answer. She assumed my parents were being forced out of the neighborhood. I simply smiled and told her they were moving somewhere better. That answer only made her more curious. Box after box disappeared into the truck. Furniture, photographs, family records. Everything was being moved. Karen stood there watching like she was waiting for something to go wrong. She still didn't understand what was about to happen. Then Karen stepped directly in front of the truck. She claimed the move violated neighborhood rules. My father looked at me, but I told him not to worry, because Karen had no authority over what was happening next. I pulled the paperwork from my jacket. Karen expected another HOA complaint or property dispute. Instead, she saw documents that completely changed the situation. Her confident expression disappeared almost instantly. Karen demanded to know where my parents were going. I looked directly at her and finally gave her the answer. She expected another neighborhood across town. She wasn't prepared for what I was about to say. The moving truck didn't leave the neighborhood. Instead, it turned toward the largest house on the entire street. Karen watched it drive closer and closer. Then she realized exactly which property it was heading toward. Karen's face went completely pale. She finally understood why my parents had packed everything. The house the movers were entering wasn't mine. It was hers. I looked Karen straight in the eyes and gave her the truth. They're moving into your house. For the first time, Karen had absolutely nothing to say. And that was only the beginning of what she was about to lose. My parents had spent years believing they were losing everything. But I had been planning something Karen never expected. That moving truck wasn't taking them away. It was bringing them somewhere Karen could never control. Karen marched straight toward the movers and demanded to know what they were doing. She claimed nobody had approved the move. The movers simply pointed toward me. That was when Karen realized she had picked the wrong person to threaten. Karen demanded that I explain myself immediately. She said my parents had no right to move into the neighborhood. I looked at her and asked one simple question. Who told you this house belongs to you? I pulled the deed from my folder and handed it to her. Her smile disappeared almost instantly. The property wasn't controlled by the HOA, and neither were the rights that came with it. Karen read the first page. Then she read it again. Her face changed from anger to panic. She finally understood that the property was legally mine. My mother wiped away a tear as she stepped to the front door. My father looked around like he couldn't believe it was real. After everything they had endured, they finally had a place of their own, and Karen could only stand outside and watch. Karen refused to accept what had happened. That night, she called an emergency HOA meeting. She promised the board they would find a way to remove my parents. But she had overlooked one very important detail. The HOA lawyer examined the documents Karen had brought him. His expression changed almost immediately. He quietly told her the HOA had no authority over my parents' ownership. Karen didn't like that answer at all. Karen finally understood why I had stayed so calm. She thought she was forcing my parents out. Instead, she had watched them move into a home she couldn't control. And the biggest surprise was still coming. I looked Karen straight in the eyes and gave her one final warning. I thought I was leaving. My parents are staying right here. And my property was quiet when I drove away. For the first time, I had no idea someone was watching the house. Because this time, the law and they were waiting for me to leave on our side.